So here we go, our 1.4 lesson. I'll get that out there early. So here we go again, except I'm using a new program, so we'll see if I can figure it out. We're going to, how would I ever change the color? There we go. Okay. Well, we'll do purple then. Okay. So we have, oops, that's a little thick for what I usually write with. Let's see if we can tone that down. Half as much, I don't know. Let's see what that looks like. So in number one, we're going to solve proportions. So in number one, proportions, we are going to cross multiply. So it looks like this. We're going to end up with a proportion that has A over B is equal to another fraction, which is C over D. So we're going to then cross multiply. We're going to take A times D, and that is going to equal C times B. Or B times C, whichever way. So just so we understand what that is, if we can all agree that 1/2 is the same thing as 4/8, we would agree with that, right? Okay, so it's telling me that the cross products are equal, so I'm going to multiply this way. 1 times 8 is 8, and it's going to equal, when I multiply this way, 2 times 4, which is also 8. Okay, so that's all we're doing. If we have equal proportions, we can cross multiply and do that. Another thing that we can do there, I don't think the eraser tool would do me any good. Is that erasing anything? I don't even know what that's doing. It's a laser tool. Oh, okay. So I can actually, that's nice. So I can circle something. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm learning a new thing here. So we'll go back to this. There's the eraser. Awesomeness. I can actually sorry. Simple minds. Okay. Again, we can actually trade places. So I'm going to move and write this as 8 over 2. And so those traded places, and is that the same thing as 4 over 1? And that is true as well. So we can do some different things for proportions. Anyway, I digress. If we come over here and look at this problem here, we are taking 4 times 6. That's going to equal 3 times x, okay? And for that first one, I did write it out. I'm not sure there's any need to, but 24 is equal to 3x. And now we're going to solve this like any other problem that we would have done. And we're going to get, 8 is equal to x. And the thing I just realized is I never finished the steps. So we're going to distribute, if necessary. And lastly, we are going to solve. Okay, so that's what we did. So, and again, I'm going to go ahead and write the steps out. We have 2 times n plus 5 is equal to 4 times 10. And the order which you write makes no difference. So whether it's 4 times 10 or 10 times 4, it's irrelevant. So now we have to distribute. So 2n plus 10 is going to equal 40. We're going to subtract that 10 to the other side. 2n is equal to 30. Divide that in half, and we get n is equal to 15. Okay, and so we're going to continue this process over and over again until we have that down. So, does my finger actually work? Weird. Anyway. So again, we're going to cross multiply that. So we're going to take 5 times y minus 3. And that's going to equal 2 times y. So now we're going to introduce variables on both sides. Because we're going to have a 5y minus 15 is equal to 2y. Now back when we were talking about this on the other lecture, I said I always want to move the smaller one. However, this is a case, this is the exception to that rule. Because if I move the smaller one, everything's going to end up on the left, which is just fine. Actually, I'll just keep with my rule. Negative 2y, negative 2y, so that means I have a 3y. But what happens is I have to take that 15 and I have to get it to the other side, so I have to add the 15 over. So 3y is equal to 15. We're going to divide the 3 out of there and find out that y is equal to 5. So that one kind of crept up on me as far as requiring some space. I believe this one will too. So we're going to take, and we can distribute as we go. Some of you might be able to just look at that and distribute this. 5 times 2k is going to give me 10k. 5 times a negative 3 is going to give me a negative 15. 3 times k is going to give me a 3k. And 3 times 9 is 27. And there we have it. So again, we're going to subtract the 3k to get my variables together. We're going to add the 15. And again, I've kind of run out of some space, but k is going to equal 6. Okay, which is what I was after. Okay, so now it looks like we have about, wow, several problems to try on our own. 16 different problems to try on our own. Okay. I could talk my way through them all, but I don't think I necessarily need to talk my way through them all. So probably what will happen is I'll talk my way through these first 6, and then what I'll do is I will just pause the video, fill out the rest of it, and then let it ride a little bit so you can see that answer. I suppose, I don't know. We'll do these first 6 and see what I feel like. So I'm going to distribute this. 3 times x is going to give me a 3x. 3 times 10 gives me a 30. Equals 8x when we multiply. Again, I'm going to subtract the 3x over. Don't know what I'm doing. 30 is equal to 5x. We're going to divide that 5 out of there and get x is equal to 6. This one, again, we can distribute as we see that. So 6p plus 12 is equal to 3p plus 21. So again, we're going to move the smaller one over. So we're going to subtract the 3p to have 3p. We're going to subtract this 12 over to have 9. So we'll divide by 3 and find out that p equals 3. The others work the same way. 6w minus 12 equals 3w. Again, I'm going to go ahead and subtract the 3w because I can. That's going to give me a 3w, but that forces me to add the 12 to the other side to get 12. So when we divide by 3, look at that, my brain's ahead of my pen again. We're going to get w is equal to 4. Okay. 9 times n is going to be 9n minus 36. 6n minus 42. Subtract the 6n to get 3n. Add the 36 to get negative 6. Divide by 3, and it turns out is negative 2. Now I forgot I never did this. There's a couple of these that we actually have to double check something. So we're going to grab what I think is the highlighter tool. And I'm going to come back to number 2 here real fast. We end up with p plus 7 in my denominator. And what I have to pay attention to is, because I have a variable in the denominator, there's a domain restriction. We haven't talked about that yet. But p cannot be negative 7. Because if I put a negative 7 into my numerator, that denominator, negative 7 plus 7 gives me a sum of 0. So that means if I got negative 7 for a solution, that means there's really no solution at all. It's called an extraneous solution, but we have to be careful of that. At least when you get moved further up the chain, I don't think this worksheet's going to have anything like that that's going to bust us. So we'll just continue to try here. So we have 3a plus 3 is equal to 2a minus 6. 3a and 3, 2, oops, here, grab this, you can't see me move my pen. 3 times a, 3 times 1 2 times a, 2 times negative 3. So that's where we end up with those. Again, we're going to subtract the 2a, subtract the 2a. We get a is equal to, we'll subtract the 3 and subtract the 3, and I get a negative 9. Okay. My problem is I don't know how to pause this video. I'm doing it on my iPad. 5f plus 10. Because 5, again, if I can grab that tool, 5 times f, 5 times 2. 25 times 3 is a 75. So we end up with 5f equals 65. When I subtract the 10, I didn't show my steps. We're going to divide the 5 out of there and find out that f is equal to, there it goes in there, 12, 13 times. Sure. Okay. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to figure out how to pause my video, and the rest of the answers should just be kind of flopped up in here, and we'll see how that goes as far as what we needed to look like. Okay. So, I don't want it to stop. Well, that's a bummer. I cannot figure out how to pause the screen recording. So, with that said, I guess we'll talk our way through it all. (8m minus 64 would be the first distribution, and again, 8 times m, 8 times negative 8 to give me a negative 64. Now we're going to take 6 times m and 6 times negative 9. We're going to subtract 6m. Stop. (2m) is going to equal, so that means we need to add the 64 and add the 64 to get a 10. So we divide the 2 out of there to find out that m is equal to 5. (2r) is the first distribution, 4r plus 16. So again, it depends on what you want to do. Actually, we'll go the other way. I'm always moving the smaller one. Let's talk about what happens when I move the larger one. There's a negative 2r. That's what happens when we move the larger one. We have the possibility of having to work with negative numbers, which is fine. But there's just a way around that when we can do that. All right, so distribution. Again, 5 times v, 5 times negative 2, 2 times v, 2 times negative 8. That's what we're doing for distributions. So 5v minus 10 is going to be 2v minus 16. So again, we can get back in the habit of moving the smaller one to get 3v. We're going to add the 10 over to get a negative 6. Dividing by 3 gives me v is equal to negative 2. All right, I'm tired of purple. We're going to move on to something else. Let's do orange. 6k minus 36 is equal to 8k minus 8. So we're going to subtract 6k and subtract 6k, so we have a 2k. We're going to add the 8 and add the 8, which gives me a negative 28. So we'll divide the 2 out of there and find out that k is equal to negative 14. We'll get there eventually. Distribution-wise, again, just to follow, we're taking 4 times y and 4 times negative 7. So that's going to give me 4y minus 28. We're going to take 3 times y, 3 times negative 9, to give me 3y minus 27. This will be a nice one, no division. We're going to subtract the 3y over, and we're just done with y. We're going to add the 28 over and find out that that equals 1. Okay. All right, 4 times h is going to give me a 4h. 4 times negative 6 is going to give me a negative 24. 9 times h is going to give me a 9h. 9 times 9 is going to give me an 81. I'm going to move the smaller one, so we're going to subtract the 4h, subtract the 4h. Still left with 5h. That means we need to subtract the 81 and subtract the 81, so we're talking about negative 105. We'll divide the 5 out of there and get h is equal to negative 21. It's time for some hot pink. 4r is equal to 2r plus 20. We're going to divide that 2 out of there and find out that r is equal to 10. And we keep on moving forward, sorry. All right, so again, we're going to have a 7x minus 42. We're going to have 2x times 3 is going to give me a 6x. Negative 8 times 3 gives me a negative 24. Again, another nice one because there's no division problem at the end, so there's negative x. And then we need to add this 42 to the other side. And when we do that, we get an 18. Oh, 2 more. Life is good. Okay. So that's cause for different color. Let's go with brown. Alrighty, so we're going to distribute this. We can draw it in there like that, I guess. It's kind of sloppy, it slops it up, so I won't do that anymore. 8u plus 18 equals 9u plus 21. Again, we're going to move the smaller one, so we're going to subtract over the 8u to get u. We're going to subtract over the 21 to get a negative 3. Last problem that we're going to do, again, so we're going to take 2x times 10 and negative 1 times 10. We can look at distribution that way too. So we're going to end up with 20x minus 10. If we distribute the other way, I get 5 times 3x is a 15x. 5 times 1 is a 5. So we're going to subtract that 15x over to get a 5x. That means that we have to add the 10 over, so we can have x by itself. We get 15. So that turns out that x is equal to 3. All right, and that wraps this up. So now I had to figure out how we're going to